Hello viewers, welcome to this session. I am Dr. Rajesh Kumar Thakur, Assistant Professor, Department of Science, Bhopal School of Social Sciences, Bhopal. Today we are starting a new course that is mechanics, and the very first topic we have taken is concept of vectors. In this topic, we shall be talking about mechanics, physical quantities and their classifications, different types of vectors and their representations, addition of two or more vectors, which will be followed by certain exercises. Let's start with the concept of mechanics. What is mechanics? Mechanics is a study of object or forces which are acting on the object. It is the study of the object under the action of certain forces. The object might be in the state of rest or motion. Mechanics is broadly divided into two categories. One is statics and another is dynamics. Statics deals with the study of the bodies under the action of one, two or more forces. Statics is the branch of mechanics which deals with the forces and their effects while acting upon bodies which are at rest. Whereas dynamics is the branch of applied mechanics which deals with the forces and their effects while acting upon bodies which are in motion. Further, the dynamics is divided into two subcategories. One is kinetics and another one is kinematics. Kinetics is a branch of dynamics which deals with the study of the object in motion by taking into account the cause of motion, that what is responsible for the motion, which force is responsible for the motion. Another one is kinematics. It is the branch of dynamics or part of dynamics which deals with the study of the object in the state of motion without taking into account the cause of motion. From where the motion arises, that is not important in this category of dynamics. Before actually talking about on the concept of vector, let's make a small discussion on the physical quantities. Physical quantities are all those quantities on the basis of which we can explain the laws of physics, or the quantities which can be measured directly or indirectly. On the basis of their origin, the physical quantities, they are divided into two categories. Number one is fundamental physical quantities. Those physical quantities which are mutually independent. They are known as fundamental physical quantities. They are of 7 different types: length, mass, time, electric current, temperature, amount of substance and luminous intensities. Next one is derived physical quantities. Those physical quantities which are derived with the help of fundamental physical quantities, they are known as what? Derived. For example, by using length and distance, we can have the expression for the velocity, speed. And by using mass and velocity, we can have the expression for the momentum as shown in the examples. Further, on the basis of the direction of the physical quantities, they are categorized in two categories mainly. Number one is scalar physical quantities and another one is vector physical quantities. The scalar physical quantities are those physical quantities which possess only magnitude. They do not require direction for their complete representations. These physical quantities are like mass, length, time, volume, distance, speed, density, electric current, etc. However, the vector quantities are those physical quantities which requires both magnitude as well as direction. In addition to that, vector quantities also obeys the laws of vector additions. The example of these physical quantities are displacement, velocity, acceleration, momentum, etc. Further, the vector quantities can also be divided into two subcategories, namely polar vector and axial vectors. Polar vectors are those vectors which have a starting point or a point of application as a displacement, force, etc. However, axial vectors which represent the rotational effect act along the axis of rotation, they generally found in the rotational motion or rotational study of the objects. The example of axial vectors are angular velocity, torque, angular momentum, etc. In addition to the scalars and vector, certain physical quantities are known as tensors. Tensors are those physical quantities which possess different value of their magnitude with different directions. The various examples of tensors are moment of inertia, radius of gyration, resistivity, conductivity, elasticity, and pressure, etc. Now let's move to another subtopic, that is different types of vector quantities. The very first one is unit vector. Unit vector quantities are those vectors which possess a unit magnitude and certain directions. They are known as unit vector. Mathematically, a unit vector can be obtained by dividing a vector by its modulus or magnitude. What I mean to say, that unit vector of any vector is obtained by using this ratio, that the same vector is divided by its magnitude or modulus. Here we have calculated, here we have given a mathematical expression of a three-dimensional unit vector. We are having a vector A which is acting somewhere here in the space. It is having its three component along x-axis, component along y-axis, and component along z-axis. The unit vector of this vector can be written like a vector itself, which is given in the numerator, and the modulus of the vector, which is there in the denominator. Now, some another types of vectors are, number one is null vector. A vector is also known as a zero vector. Vector which is having a zero magnitude and certain direction is known as what? A null vector. Next one is like vectors. The two or more vectors have same directions but may have different magnitude. They are known as like vectors. Next one is negative vector or negative of a vector. A vector is said to be negative vector of some another vector if it have same magnitude and just opposite direction, as shown in the figure also. Collinear vectors, all vectors which are parallel or anti-parallel, which are acting along a parallel line or anti-parallel line, may have same or different magnitude. They are known as collinear vectors. These are certain example of collinear vectors. Next one is coplanar vector. Those vectors which share common plane, which lies in a common plane, they are known as coplanar vectors. Let us now talk about the addition of two vector quantities. We are having three different laws for the addition of two or more vectors. We are starting with the very first law, that is known as what? Triangle's law of vector additions. As per the statement of Triangle's law of vector additions, it states that if we have two vectors which can be represented by two sides of a triangle acting in the same order. By same order, we mean that the tail of the second vector that should fall on the tip of the first. Then these two vectors are said to be in the same order. I am repeating the statement. As per the statement, if we have two vectors which can be represented by two sides of a triangle acting in the same order, then their resultant can be given by the closing side of the triangle drawn in the opposite order. We can also see in the diagram, here we are having two vectors A and B which are acting along the different directions. We have two vector quantities which are acting along different directions, and by using Triangle's law of vector addition, they can be represented by two adjacent sides of a triangle, by two sides of a triangle acting in the same order. Then this red line represents their resultant, which is equal to the vector sum of the two vectors, that is vector A and vector B. Now let us find out the mathematical expression of the resultant of the two vectors, that is vector A and vector B. See, in order to find out the magnitude of two vectors, we have used the diagram as you can see in the screen, on the screen. The vector B is resolved into its two components. Number one is the horizontal component, that is B cos theta, another one is B sin theta. Our motive is to find out the expression for the magnitude and direction of the resultant, that is the vector sum of two vectors A and B. See, we have used the Pythagoras theorem for this. By using Pythagoras theorem for the triangle PTN, what we have is the square of hypotenuse, that is equal to sum of the square of the base and square of the perpendicular. In the next expression, the Pn with the base can be written as a sum of Pq and Qn. See, as I have told to you earlier that this Qn, this Qn is a component vector of B, which is equivalent to B cos theta, and Tn is also a vertical component vector of B, which is equal to B sine of theta. Then we have replaced these values here in these expressions. In place of Tn now we have B sine theta, and in place of Qn now we have B cos of theta. Now substituting the value of PQ, which is equal to A, and value of Qt, which is equal to B. Also the value of Pt we have assumed it is equivalent to R. We will have this expression. Now by using the trigonometric equality, that is sin square theta plus cos square theta, here in these two terms, we can, by taking B square outside, we will have the next expression, that is A square plus B square plus 2ab cos theta, that is equal to square of the resultant. See, in order to calculate the directions of the resultant vector, we have taken this angle beta, that is what angle formed by the resultant with one of the vector, that is what A vector. So from this figure we have written the expression of tangent theta, which should be equal to perpendicular upon base. Here we can have perpendicular is the vertical component, of the vector B, and this is base, that is A plus B cos of theta. Beta, that is equal to tangent inverse of this term. So this is what the angle along which the resultant is directed with respect to the one of the vector, that is vector A. See, here are some of the special cases. What happen if we are having two vectors which are acting along the same line or along a parallel line? What I mean to say, if they form an angle of 0 degree with each other, then by substituting the value of theta here, that is 0 degree, we can have, we all know cos 0, that equals to 1. It will be like A square plus B square plus 2ab, which is equivalent to A plus B whole square. Here will be the cancellation of these two, and the resultant will be simply a sum of the two vectors, that is A plus B. One thing we can also note here, that this is what the maximum value of the resultant that we can obtain in the sum of two vectors. Next expression is, what if we are having two vector quantities, they are acting just opposite to each other. What I mean to say, that they are forming an angle of 180 degree with each other. In that situation, again we can replace the theta over here by 180 degree, and we all are familiar that cos 180 degree is minus 1, and we will have this expression ultimately, that is A minus B. And this is what the minimum possible value of the resultant that we can obtain in the addition of two vectors. Next one is the case of two perpendicular vector. When we have one vector quantities, a vector quantity might be two velocities, might be two forces, any two vector quantities which are acting perpendicular to each other, like this. What I mean to say, they are forming an angle of 90 degree with each other. Then by placing theta over here, that is 90 degree, and we all are familiar that cos 90, that is having value 0. Therefore, the net expression of resultant will be A square plus B square whole under root. Next law of addition of two vector is parallelogram law of vector addition. This law can also be useful for the addition of two vectors. Suppose we are having two vectors A and B. Again, they are directed with certain directions we have shown in the figure. These are the two vectors which are acting in a different directions. Then as per the statement of parallelogram law of vector addition, we have that if we can represent two vectors by two adjacent side of a parallelogram, then the resultant can be given by the diagonal of the parallelogram formed by these two vectors. Here this longest diagonal, that is equivalent to resultant, and that is equal to simply the vector sum of the two vectors. Further, if we want to calculate the resultant, that by proceeding in the same way as we did in triangle's law of vector addition, we can obtain the expression for the resultant, and that will definitely come out to be a square plus b square plus 2ab cos of theta whole under root. That we can proceed in the same manner as we did in triangle's law of vector addition. Next one is the very important law of vector addition, which is useful for the addition of more than two vectors. But I mean to say that we can use this law of addition of vectors for more than two vectors acting together at a point. See, here we have considered 5 different vectors: vector A, vector B, vector C, vector D, vector E. They are acting at a particular point with different directions. Then, as per the statement of polygon law of vector additions, if 2 or more vectors can be represented by many sides of a polygon acting in the same order, then the resultant can be given by drawing a opposite vector or by drawing the closing side of a polygon. As you can see here, this r vector is the resultant vector of these 5 different vectors with different directions. Again, by using the same concept as we have done in triangle's law of vector additions, that by taking 2 vectors like A and B, we can obtain their resultant separately. Then this resultant R1 and this vector C, they can again treat it as 2 different vectors. The resultant will be somewhere here, and let it is R2. Then R2 and D vector, they can be solved separately, and we will have a resultant like this. And ultimately, when we reach this section of this diagram, we will find 2 vector. One is named, suppose it is R3, and this vector is E vector. Their resultant is equal to R vector. These 2 vectors, you know, they can again be called like a 2 vectors which are forming 2 sides of a triangle. This is one side and this is another side, and definitely this vector is drawn in the opposite order, and it can also be called as a closing side of the triangle. So this is a polygon law of vector addition, and the net resultant is again the vector sum of all the vectors which are forming the polygon. Now let us solve some numerical problem based upon the discussion we have done in this session. The very first question is, find the vector AB and its magnitude if it has initial point, the coordinate points are given, and the final point is B with these coordinates. Let these 2 points are situated here with respect to a certain frame of reference whose origin lies here at point O. Let the point A is lies with a position vector OA over here. This is point A having a coordinate 1, 2 and -1. Point B is having a position vector OB vector with the coordinates 3, 2 and 2, like this. Here in this question we are supposed to find out the vector AB. This is vector AB. Now see, by using triangle's law of vector addition, we can clearly state that the vector OA and vector AB, they are acting in the same order. See, the tail of vector AB, that is falling on the tip of vector OA. It means they are in the same order. That should be equal to the closing side of triangle, that is OB vector. Now we have to find out AB vector here. The AB vector, that is equals to OB vector minus OA vector. See, what is this OB vector? OB vector can be clearly written, since this is a point B and origin lies with coordinate system 0, 0, coordinate points 0, 0 and 0, then 3 minus 0, that is what 3 I cap, plus 2 minus 0, that is what 2 j cap, again plus 2 minus 0, that is again 2, and that is 2 k cap. This is OB vector minus, similarly OA vector can be written like I cap plus 2 j cap minus k cap. On solving this, by subtracting this vector by this with this vector from this vector making after making subtraction, we will have this is minus, we will have 2I cap plus 0, this component will be a null vector, that y component is a null vector, then plus 3k cap. This is what the required vector, and this is our solution. Now let's move to the next question, that is in which we have to find out a unit vector parallel to the resultant of vectors A and vector B. These two vectors are given, and we have to find out a unit vector which is parallel to the resultant of these two vectors. See, what about the resultant of these two vectors? Let R vector represent the resultant of these two, that is vector sum of A and B. Let's add them. It is like 1 plus 3, that is what, 4I cap. Then this is plus 4 minus 5, it is minus 1, that is what, minus j cap. Then we have minus 2 plus 1, that is what, minus 1 minus k cap. See, what this is what the resultant. Now the unit vector corresponding to this resultant vector is R vector, that is equal to vector divided by its modulus. This is the expression we have done when we were talking about unit vector. It can be obtained by dividing the vector by its own modulus. That is, vector we have is 4I minus j cap minus k cap, that is divided by its own modulus, that is obtained by adding the square of the component vector. This is a component vector along x axis, this is a component vector along y axis, this is a component vector along z axis. See, their respective squares are like 4 square plus minus 1 square, again plus minus 1 square, whole under root. See, the unit vector we will have now is 4I cap minus j cap minus k cap divided by, this is 16 plus 1 plus 1, that is under root 18. So this is what the required unit vector, which will be definitely parallel to the resultant of the two vectors we are given with, vector A and vector B. Now let's move to the next question, where we have a vector x. We are given with a vector x. When this vector is added to the resultant of the two vectors, vector A and vector B, gives a unit vector along y-axis. Find the vector x. See, as per the question, what we are given with here in this question, we are given with that, that when vector x is added with the resultant of the two given vectors, we obtain a unit vector along y-axis, and we all are familiar that unit vector along the three different axes are I cap, j cap and k cap. J cap is the unit vector which is parallel to y-axis or which lies along y-axis, and here we have to find out this x vector, which is equal to j cap minus r vector. Note that this r vector represents the resultant of these two given vectors which are given in the questions. Then ultimately this x vector will be equal to j vector minus r vector will be equal to 3 plus 2. Here it is, x component is 3 and here x component is 2. It is 3 plus 2, that is what, 5i. Then minus 4 plus 4, minus 5 plus 4, that is minus 1, that is minus j cap. Again 7 minus 3, that is 4k cap. So the x vector will be equal to minus 5i cap. This is minus minus plus, plus 2j cap. Then minus 4, sorry, there is no k component to be added here with this. So it will be minus 4k cap. So this is the expression for the vector we are asked in this question. This is the answer. Now let's solve the last question of this session, in which we have, if a vector A equal to 3i plus 4j and a vector B which is equal to 2i cap plus 5j cap, we are supposed to find a vector having the same magnitude as B and parallel to A vector. Let the required vector is C vector, and that vector is having same magnitude as that of B vector. B vector modulus, and it is parallel to A vector, means it have the same direction as that of A vector. We have to find out the unit vector of A vector. So, this is what the required expression for the vector which we are asked to find out in this particular question. Therefore, C vector can be written like, here the modulus of B vector is 4 plus 25. It is like under root 29, and the unit vector of A is 3i cap plus 4j cap divided by under root 9 plus 16. And C vector, then we will have under root 29 divided by under root 25, that is 5 3i plus 4j cap. So, this is the required expression for the vector C, which is asked in this particular question. Thank you, viewer, for watching this video. I hope that this video will be really useful to you. We will meet soon in the next lecture. Thank you very much.